I'm hiding. Shh. Shh. Don't give it away, Chad. Spoilers.
We're live.
What? Oh, okay. Hey! We're back. Massive Chalice Teamstream 17. Amnesia Fortnite's over, so everybody's back to work in the salt mines now. Like John. John's back to work. So yeah, if you didn't see the Amnesia Fortnite stuff, it was super rad. You should check it out. It's like our 2-week game jam here. And we made a bunch of 4 new prototypes, and one of them's from Pendleton Ward, and it's crazy, and they're all really, really good, and you can just pay whatever you want for it, so just check it out. Yeah, but today, back on Massive Chalice, talking about levels. John, what is happening over here on your... Oh man, I need a haircut. I just saw my hair. That's awful.
Just trying to get the chat up.
Yeah, okay. Sweet. So I thought that we would walk you guys through like the whole process that we do for making the levels, and show you some of the tools that we've made and like how it works and how we do it. Some of the parts, our engine is all internal, so it's got a little bit of rough edges, the like tool chain, but we just want to show you exactly what it is and what we do. It's working now?
Yep.
Yeah, it's working. All right, great. This is also a super creepy shot where I am just gonna whisper into your ear, and you're not gonna don't look at me.
My hair thinning.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me. All right.
It's gonna be live.
And we've got the chat up too, so if you've got any questions while we're doing this, feel free to sling them out there. And then after this, we're gonna just be working on stuff. John and Jeremy and I, we're just gonna be bouncing between the streams of our desktops, just like working on the levels. Like we've got a lot that are like in progress and kind of like out there. And yeah, we've got a huge punch list of stuff that we wanna change and edit on them. And yes, we're just gonna be jamming through that and answering questions. And it should be pretty sweet, I hope. So let's jump over to this thing.
So
Jump over to this thing.
Desktop streamer working.
I think it's working.
I didn't actually do this through AF, so this is my first time streaming my desktop.
You will never forget your first time, John. Is it? We're going? Yep. All right, I forget that there's a delay. There's that Twitch delay. All right, cool.
Well, it's just John's email right now.
So looking at, that's not email. That's not email, Paul Levering. That is Google Drive. So we actually start with Google Doc, and Anthony did a bunch of work on this because he's got some scripting magic. What do they use? What do you write in?
It's JavaScript. It's Google has.
It is JavaScript.
Yeah, the JavaScript API.
Awesome. So there's a bunch of JavaScript just hanging out that you can plug into like Google Docs, and since our levels are all flat, we decided that we could just easily mock them up in a spreadsheet program, right?
Yeah, Google Spreadsheets.
Yeah, so you may have seen some of these.
So we just decided we
maps.
use Google Spreadsheets so we can all kind of like jump in there in the same thing. Uh-oh. That mic is acting weird. Stand by. Man,
check.
That was professional.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is kind of like the editor that we're using to get the basics of the map down. We're just using like a really simple Google spreadsheet, and just marking it up with a bunch of letters. And then Anthony wrote, actually we didn't write anything, did we? We take this guy, so do you want to pull up the one that we're actually gonna use? So we've shown you the dry sea environment in the past, and so
this is the dry sea 1 map.
This is the one that we have kind of shown you.
With some edits, we kind of filled in. We're cutting some stuff down, so you don't. Some of this stuff's a little.
It was a little bit too big, and you'll see this one. This is the one that I'm working on right now, and so when we switch to the desktop streams and stuff, and when I stop talking, you'll actually see this one. I'm working on that one, but John is working on Dry Sea 2 right now, which is this other sheet, and so.
And this is just like the very first stubbed in thing. Basically what we can do is we have, let's see if I can get that. Isn't there like a pop-up where I can see all of the stuff you could place?
I think if you double click in there.
Yeah, so basically we've just coded this thing so that it'll pop out a comma separated value file with letters and alpha numbers and stuff in there.
Yep, and these are all just codes that speak directly to an object in the game that takes up a grid square. So the grids are 2 meters by 2 meters, and then so the S is a short blocker, so that's something that you can't path through, but that you can shoot through. The M is what we call the medium blocker, so that's something you can't see through, you can't shoot through it. And then the T is a tall blocker, and so that's something that you can't see through, shoot through, or throw things over. So the mediums and the shorts, you can actually throw grenades. The alchemist can throw grenades over them, and any other arced attacks we have in the game, you'll be able to throw over there too. So we also have invisible tiles, is what we call them. So we use those for pits, like in that mangrove zone. We use it. What are the other? We use them on the edges of the map.
Sometimes on the edges of the map, yeah. If we go to see, it's good to check out, I think, a full thing. So this is more. This is one
this
that we're
one's more
actually
completed,
playable.
and this is actually a mangrove level. So you can see
Yeah.
all of those really bright white squares. That's a capital S and a short I.
It's the river.
A short I.
Yes.
A short I, also known as a lowercase I.
Lowercase I.
Capital S, lowercase I. That's like our indicator for one of these invisible short things. And when you look at this and try to, I don't know, squint your eyes and think about what it might look like in the game, you can see that there are actually these big pits that are carved out of it. And you'll see that one in the game too. So we just have all these codes for various things that will translate into objects in the game. So we save this guy out as a comma separated values, which is, I'm pretty sure that's exactly what it says.
So I can do that right now.
It's a file of values separated by commas, right?
Yep.
It's pretty complicated stuff.
We'll see how this works.
But yeah, like that. So the CSV is like, I don't know, it's pretty standard like data format. A lot of things can read it in. It's super simple to work with. And then Adrian wrote a tool to take it into our tools on the Maya side, read that grid of values, and then actually create the objects and dump them into. Did it work?
It did. It just took a while.
Okay.
I just got a new machine, so first time I'm trying some of the stuff on this machine. I did most of it yesterday.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
it'll work.
I mean, it's totally fine.
So we use Maya for the level building, and we have our own suite of tools, and a lot of these toolbars are custom because they're all Double Fine stuff.
Yeah, and we're trying to piggyback as much as possible on the multi-user editor that we made for Brutal Legend. So you start by like opening up this guy. That is the best art, by the way.
Isn't this great? I love this guy.
It's a two-headed baby with like I don't know if people can see it on the
like a
stream.
sombrero and a cowboy hat?
He's got a sombrero and a cowboy hat because it's like, oh, look at all these worlds he can visit, I guess.
Working together to hold up the world, like the giant
Can we
tortoise
throw my
of
phone
legend.
away? Oh no. John, give me your telephone.
Here, I'll
Why do you need my telephone?
Because we can't have you making any critical phone calls during this. No, it's I think I'm getting the signal from Paul Everett. I think it's
Is
the
there interference?
interference with the
Weird.
mics. Because we're a professional operation here. Okay, so we start by opening this guy, and this actually talks to a server that we have in-house that manages all this stuff, and gives you a list of all the levels per project. Don't show the other projects. There's
I won't.
some top
Sorry, you're right.
secret projects.
Everything's
Okay.
in MC. We have a bunch of levels here.
So Dry C2 is
Test
the one that
stuff,
will load
some
up.
new stuff, and this should be just blank. I just nuked it out a little earlier just so we can start from scratch here.
Yep.
So there's nothing in here. We have this tool that lets us browse all of the objects in
Don't drag
the
that
movie.
over
Not over
there.
there.
All right.
It's here.
Nobody can
And
see
notice
that
how
if
there's
you put it
nothing
over
in
there.
here. That's fine because what we're going to do is use the tool that Adrian made, which is this guy. Does it have a name?
It doesn't have a name.
It doesn't have a
should.
name.
If anybody wants to name this tool in the chat, go for it.
Import world
I'm open.
template. I will have to find my download folder, and sometimes this takes a little while to read. But it should be Dry C2 CSV.
Okay.
Open this, and we should start seeing it. There we go.
Yeah.
Printing out the dudes. It's
And
literally creating objects
is-
for every single thing we had in that.
I thought that
that
this
map.
was, when we were initially had the idea for this tool, I thought that it was going to be basically instantaneous to do this process. But the way that our multi-user editor works, it actually has to ping the server for each of these objects that it needs to create, and then wait to hear back and whatever. and so it's actually quite slow, which is sort of a bummer. But being a small team, this is not really something that we can like dig into, and it's like, you know, it works. It doesn't take that long to do it, so I think that this is something that we just kind of like have to live with.
And I think there's still big savings. It's really easy to edit the maps in the
Yep.
spreadsheet. And, you know, if I'm like, so just to give you a little background on this map, the point of what I'm doing here is just trying to play with these boomerang shapes where there are medium blockers on the end and short blockers in the middle, so that you could put a guy here and potentially shoot through it, and try to make these, you know, see what happens if we make windows, sightline windows in between some of them. So this is really right now just a shape test. It's not anything like we'd want the real map to look like.
And this is an expansion on an idea that came out of Dry Sea 1, where that right in the middle, yeah, this section here. Oh man, we need another mic swap. Those things, they got used so much over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They need a vacation.
Sorry. All right.
But yeah, there were a couple of areas here where we messed around with it. This section down here on the left, and then this section up in the top middle, where you've got like shorts that completely block off an area, and so you can be shooting things in there. Enemies can be shooting out. You can be lobbing grenades over it, and it feels really good. But you can't. It blocks. You know, makes it impassable to melee guys. And so yeah, this idea that John's messing around with is like a kind of a new take on that idea, and that will
expand it.
And hopefully that will just become, you know, one of the defining characteristics of the Dry Sea map, is that we do that a lot, and it, you know, you kind of know going into it that like your ranged units are going to have a slight advantage over the melee guys, and there you go.
And I really started
should be
with
cool.
this kind of, I was actually looking at like the biohazard symbol, or just trying to figure out how I can make these kind of curve structures with, you know, within the grid.
The band biohazard.
Yeah. No, not the band.
Oh, okay.
You know, Resident Evil Japanese style. So that's kind of where this is coming from, and we'll see. It should be all loaded up now. There we
Sweet.
go. Beautiful.
All right.
And
And so
as
that's
you
the
can
top-down
see-
view. If you go look at the 3D view, it's like, hey, it's like these are actual. So these are like our default objects for each of the types. And if you look at them, the kind of zoom in there, the short ones are, what is it, half a meter? I forget these numbers sometimes.
They're a meter. It's 1, 4,
They're a meter.
and 8, I think.
Yeah, and the tall ones
10,
are
10.
just have to be so tall that they kind of go off the screen, and you don't really worry about them. But yeah, like this is our default tile set that is just a bunch of cubes, and
Got some player starts down here.
Yep, and so those are just locator nodes that our engine kind of looks at those, and it knows it's really just a position and orientation
things.
and a name. Can you actually load it up, or do you need to have enemies placed?
If you load it without enemies, then it'll crap out. So
The mission will just automatically
yeah.
complete, right?
So
the way
if,
that it
if
works.
you were to do this, we can show real quick. This is how you do it manually. Is this? Well, I don't know what this is called. Basically, it's the object chooser.
Yep.
This goes through all of the prototypes you've created for this project, and I can do things like check out the enemy starts. So I could have put E blocks in the original map, or I could go in and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to place this manually. Plop one of these down here, and you see it pop up. The only thing about this is it doesn't necessarily align it to the grid. So one of the things you have to do is I grab
which is
this
a, which is a really nice thing about the tool, right? Is that it puts everything exactly where it should be, like on the 2 meter grid, so you don't need to worry about it.
But you know, I aligned it. So what we're really playing with is we try to do the base level through the process of the spreadsheet, and then once we get it a little bit more in, we can do some little fiddly stuff in here and grab individual boxes and move them around and stuff like that. One of the things I like to do is template this background thing so that it doesn't, so I can select these things easier.
Yeah,
So I can move these guys around. I could do, like let's say I want to make more of them, dupe it out. The only thing is that we don't have a pathway back to the spreadsheet.
Right. Yeah. It is one way right now, which is pretty. It's fine.
It's okay. It's
Silly.
great for getting it started and for laying down these large swaths of things. So should be able to just export this and play it. So do export scene. It basically
And that's a super fast process because it's just dumping out like a bunch of object locations and stuff.
And then I think I've already set up my project to run this from seed V, dry seed 2. Yep. So there we go. So This would be like first test, just seeing, okay, we've got
Nice.
some guys in the map. You can see all of the just test geometry come in. If I remove the fog of war, you can see these structures that we built, these kind of nook things. And then should be at least one enemy or two over here. Right now, if there aren't any enemies in the level, you automatically win. So you have to at least play some guys, even if you're not
Sweet.
worried to play around. And one of
It's
the things
also it's super cool too is that I can even like you can get a feel for it just by looking at it like this.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be pretty
Whoa.
similar. I
What
just saw that
happened
bug. I
there?
don't know.
I have never seen this.
That thing is a quarter size, and I don't know why.
I have a little midget
Yeah.
display.
A little person display,
Little
John,
person display,
please.
my bad. That's
So
weird.
yeah, that is a strange
Okay.
thing.
Guys, can I interject for 1 second?
Yeah.
This is a really cool question you guys about what you're talking about right now. Henry the White, our old buddy.
Yeah, hey Henry.
You guys just mentioned this, but maybe repeat for some guys didn't hear because it's come up a couple of times. Do you guys have to run the whole process again with each edit of the spreadsheet?
Yes.
So basically, once it leaves spreadsheet land, we have to stay in Maya.
Yeah. We have to stay in Maya, and really, like once we we want to get the layout as permanent as possible, like in Maya, and then be like, cool, we can hand it off to art, and we're like, cool. But it's like I don't know. Like usually when we want to make major changes to it, it doesn't take that long, and we just blow out the whole thing, and we're just like, whatever, like let's just just start over.
Great for it, like not just the iteration time we're talking about, but also like John called this out at our last map review meeting. Like the fact that we can all get around a computer and look at it really quick and just make edits on the fly and not need Maya and blah blah blah. It's kind of cool.
It's really nice. There's also so the next step.
So some more maps here.
The next step is that we have this other tool to help us get an idea of like what it's actually going to look like, a little bit more representational of like what the level is like, is that you can select a certain subset or all of the tiles that are in the world, run this tool that points to the actual art assets, and it will just swap them out randomly. And this kind of helps us get like a really simple idea. So if you just switch that, you just switch it to the dry sea zone. So those are all the short, medium, and tall blockers in that list there. And then I think if you just run it now, it's just you're gonna see it kind of chunk its way through.
Basically, it looks through this file structure, finds these art assets, adjusts their rotation and scale slightly so they don't look just cookie cutter. And you can do cool things like, let's say we have half the tall blockers in here might be rocks, half might be trees, and I want to make a more rocky area. Then I can play with these sliders and select some stuff and then just go ahead and do it. So really, this is like another white boxy thing. This is not going to be final art, but it really lets us start seeing what it'll look like with the actual art assets.
A lot of people are loving the dot matrix printer effect for our
Yeah.
That's all it's
And you can see how it's now putting down the lows and the mediums. And I could, run this again. Like let's say I really want these guys to all be the same thing or something. I could come back here and these are all mediums. And
I
be
would
like,
let it finish first.
Oh, probably should let it finish.
I would let it finish first. Who knows what would happen?
Who knows? It looks finished.
Sweet.
And just I could redo these guys and just randomize the layout, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so there you're just getting a much, much higher percentage of that particular rock.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool. And then at that point, you can just re-export the thing. And then all these changes should just show up as soon as you launch the game.
Bam, now I have
There you go.
stuff.
And now, and this is something, it's largely throwaway work, but it just gives you a little bit better of an idea of like what it's actually going to look like when it gets arted up. Also, did you have a different tile set selected when you placed those rocks?
I may have.
Like those are rocks from a different environment, which is
and
crazy.
Like, oh, probably shouldn't do that. So, it was
but
by
yeah,
default.
that's just primarily the way that we're iterating on it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what we're going to jump into. Anybody have any questions? Any questions about it?
Let's see here.
I confirm this, but the boot engine was that made for Brutal, or was it the games before Brutal?
Yeah,
what-
Boot Engine was totally made for Brutal Legend specifically. We basically like threw out all of our tech for Psychonauts and kind of started over with that game because we knew it was going to be like pretty big. It's going to be open world, whatever. So yeah, so all this tech was made just for Brutal Legend. We've used it for all of our 3D games since then. Yeah.
I myself did not even know that.
Well, the more you know, Anthony. You've learned something, so you can just go home now.
I'm like, all right,
That's it. Yep.
you guys want it?
All right, that's it. Cool. So, John, you're going to be jamming on that guy?
Yeah,
On Dry C2.
I'm really trying to So one of the other cool things that happened recently was that we were looking at Dry C1 and this area here, and we've made a new custom blocker that kind of fits this pattern of these 6 guys together, right?
Yeah, it's like the
So-
six diagonal medium
Yeah.
blockers.
And that's something that I haven't carried through in here. There's some places where that would work really well, like right here.
That would be the same thing. Yep.
And so one of the things I want to do today is look at how would we place this special piece. I don't think any of them are in Dry C1 yet, or are they?
Yeah.
Let's see.
They actually are. If you load it up, Jeremy just made that thing as a test, and it's looking pretty good.
So here's Dry C1. It's got some more splody plants. And I think it's over here.
Right over to the right.
To the right?
Yep. Yeah, it's right
This-
there, that area.
Yeah, so see this big block right here? This is not one of our standard small, medium, or talls, even though it fits in with the way it works. It's actually these 6 mediums right here. You can see the orange. The orange means mediums. So
Right, that's universal language.
Yeah.
Orange means medium.
So one of the things I want to do
I
is
guess.
every time we make one of these unique pieces, we need to start we need to make sure we can reuse that and place it in the map so we can get more of an organic feel. And so I want to kind of incorporate this into some of my design, see how that works. The tricky thing with that is that the way this actually works in terms of Maya is that it's a bunch of invisible blockers with a what do we call it? Set dressing on top. Set dressing it's just geometry.
It's like non-interactable stuff.
So it's actually a bunch of invisible blockers with non-interactable geometry on top. Lets us do arbitrary shapes and stuff, but it's a bit more of a pain to set up. So, and that's one of the things. Part of one of the steps that we want to take with this is after we get the layout working well, then Jeremy or Jeff or Andy or any other artist could come in and say, "Cool, you've got a bunch of these things together. We have a piece that we can plop down to make that look like less of a big jumble of pieces," and then go and do that on a per area basis.
Yep.
But it'd be good to set up the map to kind of support some of those pieces in the first place.
Yeah, so if we use any sort of repeated patterns in the map, that's like the best thing. If we like have, it's two shorts next to 2 mediums with a tall next to it, it's like they could actually come through, we repeat that shape like 5 or 6 times in the level. They could actually set it up so that, John, what are you doing, John?
Boom! I don't know. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah, awesome.
And then that's another thing that the like these pieces back here are all that set dressing, right? This is not interactive. It's in the background. We call it that's the pants, or part of the pants.
The pants.
And that's something that will, when we start with a map, it doesn't have any of that stuff in it. And we don't really want to place it to we're pretty good on the layout of the map because you have to move it around if you change the map a bunch. But that's another part that's going to make it awesome. Get these cool shapes coming in, ringing the area, making it feel more organic. This is another good example of a big piece of set dressing, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy.
Yep.
What is that? That's just a bunch of tall
It's a
blockers.
bunch of tall blockers.
Cool. Let me see if I can get the chat window up and we can take questions.
Yeah, see if there's any questions.
Sorry, it keeps popping away.
Mind if Clink really wants
Ouch Mouth asked, are there going to be any horses in Master Chalice now? No, we're still not going to be able to get mounts, and if we got any mounts in, we'd probably
It would
do
be a
B
B.
mounts.
It would have to be a B.
But maybe someday.
Somebody wanted volumetric lights.
Yeah, from the monitor.
Yeah, Matt Enright, who is sitting over there giving me a wild grin, did these amazing volumetric lights on Mnemonic, the noir game that we were working on during Amnesia Fortnite, and there's maybe a possibility. No, I'm going to say no possibility. There's no possibility that they could ever make it in because only a genius could put them into the video game.
The point lights, though,
But yeah, the point lights, that's right. We do have...
because it was like we made them for Master Chalice, and then they went into Mnemonic, and then
I
they
think
kind of got
so.
tweaked, and now they're coming back in. Is that how
I think
that
so,
works?
yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, we did some work on, Matt was doing that shadow casting point lights for the interior keep maps to make them feel a little bit different, and I think they might be broken right now.
Yeah, we can.
So
Don't
we'll show them to you at a later date.
They're gonna be
Those
sweet.
things.
And this has been a constant request, but the tech that came out of AF will we get B mounts?
No, I don't think there will be B mounts.
Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
You guys in the chat, but
It's Anthony Vaughn fights for the youth.
I think Brad's right on this one, for sure.
Yeah, no B mounts. Sorry.
There's a question about how many maps will be in the final game. Will we continue to make content after releasing? I think it's still a little up in the air.
Yeah.
We're still
Yeah,
playing with that.
I don't really know how many we'll be able to get in there.
Goal for the end of this month is we'll have like 2 for each region plus a keep for each region.
Yeah, 2 for the regions plus the keep. And I think that's our baseline, and then we'll see how many more we can get in there. I think that baseline plus the final map would be enough to ship the game, but hopefully we'll be able to make more. We'll see.
Another cool thing, when we talk about the spawning sets,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of cool. So one of the things we're doing to get like more use out of the maps and without them feeling like you're replaying the same map over and over again, is we got a pretty cool way. Let's see what would be a good one to do that. I'll bring up. We've seen a lot of dry sea. We'll do Mangrove 01.
Yeah, I think that's.
So we're able to drop down. Oh, I got to load this guy up. So refresh. We're able to drop down multiple sets of spawners. So multiple places where the player can start, multiple places where the enemy can start, and then define in script which ones are going to be used for different like variations of the level, as well as a starting camera position. So. Cool thing is that really lets us do things where you can run through a level in multiple different ways. Let me pop this guy on. So I'm showing this is Mangrove 1. Hide this terrain. The terrain mesh is a holdover from Brutal, where all of our maps need to have it, but we're not actually using it. So let's see, it's still loading everything up.
Hey, a couple questions about John's looking at.
Yeah.
This is one I know we've talked about back and forth quite a bit. I'd love for you to tell the stream. Why no random maps? Random map generation. Oh, sorry.
Why no random maps?
Random map generation. Like
Why no random maps?
I remember I was talking about this. Random isn't truly random, right? And
Yeah.
you have to craft these things.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was a lot of things. Like when we were in pre-production, like we talked about it. We talked about it, and it was like reading a lot of people trying to make 3D games, trying to make randomized maps, and then getting into the weeds. Like a lot of postmortems, like of the new XCOM, of some other games that maybe it was only that one that scared me. Is that they spent so much money trying to chase the idea of like truly randomized maps that it was just sort of terrifying, and we were like, okay, that's somewhere where we can mitigate the risk and like actually save some costs at the same time while making the maps look nicer, because we can hand place stuff like that set dressing stuff that John was talking about. That set dressing is more kind of like in the map, doing custom blockers and stuff. That's easier to do, but then outside of the map and in the non-playable spaces, just like adding flavor to it and whatever, that's something that that our tools are very good at, that we're very experienced at, like as a studio, of just like, hey, here's this like 3D world, like just make it look more awesome. We have a lot of 3D artists that are good at that, and it's like, it's not a programmer problem at
That's
that
great.
point. It's purely an art problem, as opposed to when it's truly randomized, it's both an artist problem and a programmer problem at that point. And I feel like we can
And a playability problem.
You're right, and a
wanna have
playability
that,
problem.
So you have to do a lot of
So
algorithmic design.
it would just take a lot of iteration to get it right. So we opted more for just making as many maps as we can in each region. We have a set of meshes and blockers and stuff that we can place, and hopefully with this pipeline we can crank out a bunch of maps per region and just be like, yeah, sweet, like we have a bunch of maps. And then like John was talking about here, is that with a bunch of different start locations and enemy layouts per start location, even if you've seen the map before, like you won't exactly know where the enemies are spawning, and hopefully we can get a lot of reuse out of them.
Yeah, so like one set of player starts is over here, the other one is over here, and then we have a bunch of enemy spawners all throughout. And we basically create these different sets and say, okay, in one set of the map, you're going to start up here, or you're going to start up here, and then we're going to spawn a guy. Guys could come here, 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 or here. Another one, you might start here, and you're spawning there, and there, or whatever. It's really easy to set these things up. And then within those enemy spawning places, we also have different groups, different ways you can spawn different guys. So it might be like 3 forgetful demons and 1 corrosion demon, or 2 corrosion demons, or 1 like really bad ass swapper, and like 1 little buddy. So every time you play the map, it's going to feel different and actually have some different gameplay in terms of where the enemies are, who they are, where you start. And then we haven't even really scratched the surface of this because we can split the party up too. You know, we could have 2 of your guys start here, 3 of them here, or in those keep maps, you might have the regent, the partner start up here, and everybody else start down here, that kind of a thing. One of the things that we're still kind of playing with is directionality and flow. Like in a map like this, it's pretty much you kind of carve your own S shape, whether you go down here and carve it this way. It's pretty easy to see the whole map, but if you start right in the middle, then that can get annoying if you have to go over here and then come all the way back and then hit this other thing.
And that was
So
something that we have this punch list of playing through these like kind of like new layouts, like simple layouts. And the one thing that we found that was really quite terrible was alcoves and dead ends, like taking your whole squad, going down a sort of like dead end path, clearing it out of enemies, and then having to take a couple of turns. You know, so if it takes you 2 turns to run all the way back out of there, it's actually 10 full movements because you have to move all 5 of your characters like back out through the dead end. So yeah, we're trying to address that and trying to delete as much of those as possible out of the maps while still keeping them interesting. You know, we don't want all of them to feel exactly the same. So yeah.
So
That's something that's really cool to talk about too with those map meetings we have. I mean, that's a lot of, I have a mic, a lot of the back and forth is between really the whole group, but obviously primarily you and John, of like, okay, well, let's slice this section here, or let's make this hallway wider. In fact, you guys came up with some general rules, right, about what's a feel good length and width for a hallway to like trap or not trap yourself or your enemies.
Having we don't want anything that is just 1 square wide, because then just 1 character blocks the whole thing, and it's like it's really frustrating. And 2 wide we want to use very, very sparingly, because you can sort of we don't allow your characters to run through each other, partially aesthetically, but I mean, honestly, like gameplay wise, I don't think it makes a huge difference, like one way or the other. I can kind of see it both ways. And aesthetically, it's just better to like not have your characters completely clipping through each other. So it's like, oh, okay, we'll go with that and see how it works. And it seems to be working fine. But then when you do have 2 wide, like a bridge or a hallway that's only 2 wide, it you can kind of bone yourself by putting 2 guys ending their turn shoulder to shoulder, and then the other 3 characters in your squad like can't really get in there, and it's super frustrating. So we want to use that like really sparingly in tight choke points. So most of our hallways are like 3 wide is what we shoot for, with the choky kind of areas being 2 wide. Are there any other like general rules that we've come up with for building these things, and like what feels good? And
we're just trying to keep an eye on the normal run distance, the sight distance, which is 10 tiles. If you use 2 movement, or if you move twice during a turn, you're going to go 10 tiles. And one of the metrics we have is kind of like minimum number of movements to uncover the entire fog of war in a map. And it really feels like between 10 and 12 in terms of whole turns to uncover the entire movement is about as max as you'd want. And some of our earlier map designs had, and we're even going back and kind of removing a lot of the nooks and crannies from some of them, because it just, if one guy is kind of hidden 2 or 3 tiles away, that you kind of look down a hallway but you can go all the way down, then you can get into that situation that happens sometimes in the original XCOM, sometimes in the new one, but never happens in Final Fantasy, because you can always see in FFT, you always see the guys. It really stinks to have like one guy hanging out right here that you missed in your first go round. You've cleared the entire map, and then you're stuck trying to figure out where that guy is. And we've got some mechanics coming in that'll help you discover where some of the guys are, but even then, it's like if that seems like patching the problem. The real problem is the map design. That if we can make it so that the sight distances are make sense, so that you don't have these things that will just prevent you from seeing something that it looks like you should be able to see, then that helps. And just kind of, it's not that we want to make the maps linear, but we do want to make them so that you can flow through them without having to backtrack.
Right.
And that's cool.
Right. And that's the removal of dead ends is really, really key to that. Yeah, and that part, that part's important. It also has to do with the duration of a mission. Is that we don't want. This was one thing that I learned during the Kickstarter was just that seeing other people play turn-based strategy games. Like, if you're really, really thoughtful, like we played XCOM 1 with JP, and it was amazingly eye-opening for me because he is a super, super thoughtful dude, and he took a very long time to make each decision, and the individual tactical battles took, like, we only got through like one during that, just because like he was, and you know what? I mean, it's a turn-based strategy game. Like, you're in control of like how much time you're actually going to take. There's no pressure for you to take that next move, so you can take as little or as much time as you want to do it. So it's like, with that in mind, like, I don't think the battle should take like an hour. If on average they take an hour, that means if you're a thoughtful player, they're going to take you an hour and a half or something. And that seems like it's too much time to be away from the strategy layer. We really want to make sure that the battles are sort of like short and sweet, like shoot for that 20 to 30 minutes for an average player or a quick player, and then maybe it'll take you 45 if you're that more thoughtful kind of player. We'll see. I mean, that part's sort of tough, and it's in the tuning, but it partially is just like these environments that we create. They have to be a little bit smaller and more compact so that you're not spending turns and turns and turns exploring them. And then also, it's like the bigger they are, we're going to be more compelled to add more enemies for you to fight inside of them, right? I mean, it's like, it's just going to naturally take a longer amount of time if we do that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, you made this map.
Sweet. Jeremy made it look sweet, though.
Yes. Yeah, being able to model this stuff on the sides really helps. Interesting that the textures don't show up here in the same way. So
Yeah, that's weird.
and then we do have like the destructible plants aren't represented by geometry here; they're represented by some of these little spawning points.
Oh, right, because they're actually characters. That was
characters, yeah.
kind of a hack, that each of the explodey red plants is actually a character that sits on the map.
Yeah, so that's kind of our process, and it's working pretty well for iteration now. Like, we've definitely we're kind of on our third major pass on a lot of the first maps, and again, just to get those distances down, to make sure that they're playable, that like at your spawn point, you want some kind of decision you can make. So am I going to go right over here? Am I going to go left over here? If I go left, then I might end up standing next to this explodey plant, and there could be an enemy right around the corner that comes out and just kills this thing. Happened to me before. It was kind of epic.
That's sweet.
Now that we have the swapper in, the swapper is so dangerous. I love him. He can basically swap with one of your guys, and then you might end up out of position and next to one of these exploding plants, and maybe you can use it for your satisfaction. Maybe you can't. So we'll see. I think this will blow up now, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. So maybe you want to clear the minefield. Maybe you want to leave it in case you can use it later. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So yeah, I think we're just going to cut to the desktop streams now for a couple hours. And we're just going to be cranking through a bunch of the feedback lists that we made in a meeting. When was that? Yesterday? Actually, it was before AF.
Yeah.
It was before AF.
Yeah.
We had a huge list that we created, and now we've doled it up, and we're just banging through it. So yeah, if you have any questions while we're working, feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to them. But yeah,
Why
check
did
out
this thing shrink.
Oh,
pretty
and,
weird, huh?
Chad just said in the chat not too long ago that they fixed that.
Oh, okay. Good.
Oh, sweet.
I'll
Okay.
sync up.
That's the process working.
Nice. That's awesome. It's one of the best things about about having the live stream is that if there's like some like big horrible bug, like somebody's gonna see it on the team, and then they're gonna want to fix it immediately. Sweet. But yeah, check out the Amnesia Fortnite stuff. Humble Bundle /Double Fine. Is that it? HumbleBundle.com/Double Fine. Check that out.
Yep.
If you want to, it was pretty sweet. It's kind of magical. And yeah, we'll see you guys again in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
For another couch thing, we'll show off more of the game, show you the new features that get in and all that stuff. Teamstream 18 in a couple weeks.
Oh.
See you later.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're still here though.
Yeah, we're still here.
Cool.
So I guess we're going to be doing desktop streaming. It's the first time I've done this. We'll try to keep an eye on the chat, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. How long are we doing this for?
We're doing it until
10 p.m.
Yeah. I was gonna say 11, but
Yeah.
I mean Anthony is clearly more benevolent than I am. No, I think for just a couple hours. I think we do it till 5. If that's cool.
Bam! Look at that. All right. Cool. I'm gonna kill this
Do
dude.
you want this thing?
We just did some new animation stuff, so all the timing on hit reactions and stuff isn't hooked up to some of those. But we have Dave Gardner working on some animations for us, which is awesome. All right. You sure that one's mine? Not confiscated? All right. Let me get back to map stuff. What is this program called? Desktop Presenter?